What is up, everybody? Sven Diesel here. We're going to be tying the straggle ant. As you know, I've already posted a video about this, but I got asked what it would look like with straggle legs and what the difference is, and so I thought I'd tie one up on a stealth hook D14. This video is going to be very identical. We're using some wax thread and an 8/0. And like I mentioned in the previous video, that this is pretty much a combination of two Great Tires videos, Lance Egan and his biotic ant, and Paul Proctor on his terrestrial, straggle terrestrial, sorry. And so basically all I'm doing here is tying it in with the straggle legs. So make sure you lay a little bit of super glue down. This is the liquid, not the gel, just because I want it to set fast and not get all over my fingers as I'm proceeding to tie this fly. But we're using the Semperfli 3mm foam tubes. These are really nice. I really like the foam on them. They float forever. And I'm going to go ahead and snip the butt end of this at an angle to kind of give a little bit of a taper to the ant, and make sure I lay it in so that that's facing up. And we'll just go ahead and measure about where I want that and do some loose wraps securing that foam tube, trying not to get that glue on our finger. And we'll come with a little bit of space behind the eye, kind of shifting it, making sure it's on top, and then we'll work our way down with some nice loose wraps. And that should be really awesome to hold it all in place. And we'll just kind of check to make sure everything's aligned and good. I want that to sit a little further back, almost at the bend. So okay, we'll go ahead and snip this head off. It's a little bit long, and I'll just snip it right there so it's a little bit shorter than the tail. And our first material we're going to be tying in now are some of these trigger point fibers in white, I believe. You can tie these in a lot of different colors, pink, yellow, orange. Use it as basically an indicator so you can see it better. I just tie them in white, and it works for me and I can see it. So we'll go ahead and get ready and tie this in. I got a few stragglers here. I'm going to snip those out. Makes it a little cleaner. So I'll tie this in, and these fibers also help aid in the float. Trigger point fibers don't need to be treated with anything, and they're supposed to float for days. So we'll trim those a little bit longer than the tail, making sure that we've got fanned out how we like before we do more securing wraps. I like to just pull them just a little bit, and then we'll do 1-2 securing wraps with a few underneath to help pop that up. So maybe one more, making sure not to grab your foam. And there you go. So we are progressing through this fly pretty quickly, and we'll go ahead now and tie in some of these centipede legs. I just take half of one of these legs from the core here, and we'll basically fold it in half, loop it around the back end, and then placing it on each side of the shank. I will go ahead and tie it over, trying to keep those fibers right there on the sides. And if you need to adjust it, you can. Now's the time you can do that. And then as we progress up the shank to the head of this, I'm going to stretch those fibers slightly. This also reduces the bulk of the body, but allows us to just get away with using half of that piece of the rubber leg. Because otherwise, I mean, this is a size 14, and I usually fish these in 16s and 18s, so you got plenty of room on those, but this is a little bit bigger of a bug, and so we got to utilize our material and be a little bit more frugal with it. So as we proceed back, a little bit more tight securing wraps. I'll go ahead and snip that. See how I like how the legs are. If you need it to fan out a little bit more, just go ahead and do a couple wraps behind it, almost like figure eighting it. And I'll go ahead and do that for these rear legs, because I want that to be a little bit further out away from the butt end of this. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now for the bugginess of this, we're using the Semperfli straggle legs. So in the previous video I used straggle string, and I'm doing this one kind of in a red ant color scheme. I've never actually fished these colors, but I want to try it out. So tie it in, work your way up to the right in front of those legs. Maybe do a couple wraps underneath that head at this point just to get your thread out of the way. And once we have those legs how we like it, I'm just going to leave my thread right here underneath, out of my way. So We're going to do one wrap behind these legs, and the first wrap's a little tricky to get those. You don't want to trap any of these wing fibers, and so you just want to wrap right behind those rear legs, and then we can proceed forward with just touching wraps. And this shouldn't take very long, but this straggle legs, you can see the fibers are a little bit longer than the traditional straggle string, and there's also they seem more sparse, but that's because if you look in really closely, there's some shorter legs in there, and then you have the longer ones. So it's almost like there's the same amount of fibers to me, but you're rotating between short and long, and so it seems a little bit more sparse, but the bugginess is there. This is a solid red color, whereas the previous pattern we tied in a black, it had a little bit of purple, bluish hue to it as well. But both products are phenomenal. I'm very impressed with them. I use them on a lot of patterns. The straggle legs are new, and so I'll be incorporating those into a lot of the patterns I fish. So we're going to go ahead and whip finish this. I haven't cut out my straggle legs yet, just because we want to just get this secured, and I guess I could have trimmed it out, but we'll just trim it out at the end. It's already secure. I did wraps behind and in front, so that's the advantage to fly tying is, once you get in after your first dozen, you feel like you're in a groove, and then you forget something. So, but last step is we're going to go ahead and trim out our thread, and now we're going to trim our legs. These are a little bit long, so I'm just going to cut them a little bit shorter, but maybe they're the length of the shank, I'm not sure. I just kind of eyeball this generally, and we are there. So pretty quick little pattern. I'm excited to test these red ones out, and let's go ahead and grab. I've got one tied with the straggle string here, and we'll go ahead and look at that, and you can see they're very identical. A little bit more dense body on the straggle string versus the straggle legs, but you can see the fiber length. These are going beyond the hook point, whereas on the straggle legs they're about even. So a little bit longer, but just as fishy, just as buggy, and yeah. So there's the difference between the straggle string and the straggle legs on this straggle ant. That was a lot of straggles, but they come in a lot of different colors. So thanks for watching. Tie some up, and hope you have a fun time piercing some lips.